Hello and welcome, future coders of the internet. Have you ever looked at a website and just wondered, how does that even work? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and look at this secret sauce, the absolute foundation of every single page you've ever visited, HTML. So here's the easiest way to wrap your head around it. Just imagine a website is a person. If it were, HTML would be the skeleton, right? The bones that give it all its shape and structure. Then you've got CSS, which would be the clothes, the style. And JavaScript? Well, that's the brain, making everything happen. Today, we're starting with the most important part. We're building the skeleton. Here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what HTML really is. Then, we'll break down those two big words in its name. We'll see how web pages and web browsers work together, learn the core structure that never changes, and then, the best part, you're going to build your very own first web page. By the end of this, trust me, you'll be a coder. All right, first things first, let's get right to the heart of it. What is HTML, and why do we keep calling it the skeleton of the web? Okay, so its full name is Hypertext Markup Language. It sounds kind of technical, I know, but its job is actually incredibly simple. It's all about providing the basic structure, just telling the browser what each piece of content is supposed to be. Is this a heading? Is this a paragraph? Is this an image? HTML answers those questions. And I really want this to sink in. Without HTML, there is nothing. It's just a blank white screen. It is the absolute non-negotiable foundation that everything else, all the cool designs, the videos, the buttons, gets built on top of. Okay, so let's zoom in on that name again. If you can understand what markup and hypertext mean, you'll basically understand all of HTML. So why is it called a markup language? Well, it's because it uses these little things called tags to, mark up the text. Think of them as little instructions or labels that you wrap around your content to tell the web browser what to do with it. For instance, look at this. You see those little angle brackets with the letter P inside? Anything you put between the opening P tag and the closing P tag, bam, the browser instantly knows, okay, this is a paragraph. It's that simple. It's just a command. And I love this slide because it's so true. Tags are just instructions. You have a tag that says, make this a big heading. Another one that says, this is just a regular old paragraph. And yeah, even a simple one for a line break, which can be surprisingly useful. So that's the markup part. What about hypertext? Well, that is the magic that literally creates the web. It's just text that has a special link inside it, a link that lets you jump from one page to a completely different one. That's it. That's what connects the entire internet. So we've got our language, HTML. Now, let's talk about the two main players that make it all work, the web pages themselves and the browsers that read them. You interact with web pages all day long. The login screen for WhatsApp, that's a web page. The Google search page, yep, a web page. That specific video you're watching on YouTube, that's its own web page. A whole website like youtube.com is really just a giant collection of all these individual pages, all linked together. And the web browser, Chrome, Safari, Firefox, it's the perfect employee. It takes your HTML file, reads every single tag, and does exactly what it's told. No questions asked. You tell it to make a big heading, it makes a big heading. You tell it to show a picture, it shows a picture. It's a perfect, obedient worker. Okay, now for the really important stuff. Every single HTML page on the internet, from the simplest one to the most complex one, is built on the exact same fundamental structure. Let's break it down. Look at this table. The very first thing you see is doc tape. That's just a quick hello to the browser, letting it know it's reading a modern HTML page. Next, you have the HTML tag. Think of this as the main container, or like a Tiffin box that holds everything else inside it. Inside that box, you have two main sections. The head, which is like the brain. It holds all the behind-the-scenes info, like the page title. And then you have the body. That's everything you can actually see. The text, the images, the videos, the body of the page. All right, enough theory. This is the moment you've been waiting for. It is time to stop talking about code and start writing it. We are going to build your very first web page right now. And you know what's great? You don't need anything fancy. A super simple text editor is all it takes. Even Notepad, which comes with every Windows computer, will work perfectly. Sure, there are powerful tools like VS Code, but for today, we're keeping it simple. All you need is a text editor and a web browser. Okay, here we go. This is it, your first code. Go ahead and pause here and just type this out exactly as you see it into your text editor.
See the structure, the docutype at the top, the HTML container. Inside the head, we've given our page a title, and in the body, we've got a big heading with H1 and a small paragraph with P. Once you've typed it all out, save the file. Call it whatever you want, but, and this is super important, make sure it ends with .html. That's what turns it into a web page.
Now for the magic. Find that file you just saved and double-click it. Your web browser will pop open, and look at that! You did it! The browser read your code, it understood the H1 tag and made a big headline, and it understood the P tag and made a paragraph. Congratulations! You are now a web developer. And that little spark of excitement you're feeling right now, every single developer on the planet remembers that feeling, that incredible aha moment when your text file suddenly becomes a real living thing on the screen. It's the best feeling in the world. So, let's wrap this up and really lock in what you've learned. You just went from zero to creating a web page. That's a huge deal. So let's do a lightning round. Remember, HTML is the skeleton. Tags are the commands. The browser is the obedient worker that builds the page from your commands. The structure is always doctype, HTML, head, and body, and you always save your files with the .html extension. Got it? Good. And maybe the coolest part of all this is that you've unlocked a new superpower. Now when you look at these giant, complex websites like Google or YouTube, you'll know that under all the fancy stuff, they're built on the exact same principles you just learned. You now have the foundation to say, hey, I can build that too. You have taken the first, and honestly the most important step. You've opened the door. So, what comes next? Well, we're just getting started. In our next explainer, we're going to build on this and learn about elements, attributes, and links, all the tools you need to make your websites even better. You're on your way.